We go to economics chapter 20, government intervention in the labor market. You already know what the labor market is. The market where the demand for and supply of labor have interaction. That is what the labor market is. And when there's market failure in the labor market, it simply means that there's inefficiency in the labor market. And to solve this inefficiency in the labor market, it is important for government to intervene. So how does government intervene in the labor market? Government could use policies like maximum wages or minimum wages to intervene in the labor market. So I'm going to start with government intervention. I wrote, government intervention in the labor market involves policies like minimum wages, employment protection, and social safety nets to correct market failures, to ensure fair worker treatment, and promote economic stability. If there's government intervention in the labor market, how does it bring about economic stability? It brings about economic stability because with government intervention, workers will not be exploited. And if workers are not exploited, it simply means they are being paid what they deserve. So that means income within that economy would increase. And if income increases, it affects purchasing power of households. And that increases demand for goods and services in that economy, which brings about economic stability. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So what is the case? So that takes us to the case for government intervention in labor market. The case for government intervention in labor market rests on correcting market failures, promoting equity, and ensuring economic stability, like I said earlier. So government intervened to address issues like externalities, insufficient information, unequal bargaining power between workers and employers. So government intervention comes because there are externalities, there's there's information failure or asymmetric information, and there's information problem in training. So these are the three reasons why government would want to intervene in the labor market. So we're going to start with externalities. For externalities, I wrote, while an education workforce benefits society beyond individual workers, the free market may not adequately invest in general education due to the difficulty in capturing these broader benefits. So what are we talking about here? Education is an external benefit, positive one, yes or no? But why would the free market won't want to invest in education? They won't want to invest in education because it does not directly affect them. So if it's directly affects the free market, they would want to invest in it. So they might not be willing to invest in education because it does not directly what I call it, affects their growth or their operations. So it simply means any individual can as well be educated. Then you apply for a job. So why do we have to spend our own money on education? Why do we have to, spend on general education so that a lot of people will be educated? If they are all educated, they might not even work for us. They might be working for other people. So why do we want to invest on them? That is why the free market might not want to, invest on education. And not investing in education is a market failure in the labor market because it reduces the supply of labor in the market. Do you understand the first point here? That is the case for government intervention. The second one is information asymmetry. Government intervene to address information problems and improve the matching of labor demand and supply, ensuring more efficient labor market. There's asymmetric information in the labor market. There could be asymmetric information in the labor market because both firms and employees might not have adequate information to understand the numbers of workers, the numbers of workers available that could do the job. So there might be mismatch in terms of putting workers in position. You might be putting the square pegs in the round hole. Do you get mismatch here?
Yeah.
And for employees, potential employees might not even know that there are vacancies available. There are vacancies that suit their career path. But they will continue to do the kind of whatever jobs they find available because they lack information. So there's asymmetric information in the labor market for both employers and employees. And that is why employers might be putting a doctor or a banker into, or putting a farmer or an agriculturalist into the banking system because there's mismatch, because they don't understand that there are a pool of bankers out there looking for job. Mismatch. And for employees, they don't even know that there's vacancy that would suit their career path. That is information asymmetry. Is it clear?
Yeah.
And the third one is information problem in training. In specialized training, the free market might fail to invest sufficiently in the benefits sufficiently if the benefits cannot appropriate by the individual worker or employer, leading to underinvestment. So the free market might underinvest in training. Why? Because they don't just want to train workers, they don't want to train employees that as soon as they are being trained, they become attractive to their rivals. Why do we have to train you? And after a while, you just go up to work with our competitors. So employers might feel reluctant to train employees. So these are the reasons why there's always going to be government intervention in the labor market. The first case for government intervention is that there's externality. The second one is information asymmetry or information gap. And the third one is information problem in training. Is it clear? Any question about that? So that takes us to, okay. Okay, yeah, there's another point I have to make here anyway about the free market economist. I'm just gonna hold on, please. For market failure in the labor market, when we look at when we can trace market failure in the labor market to inequality in the labor market. And when we talk about inequality in the labor market, we're talking about wage inequality. So for the free market economist, the argument is that without wage inequality, workers do not have low income earners do not have the incentive to want to be educated or trained to start earning more. Do you get the point I'm making here? So with wage inequality, it brings about efficiency in the labor market, according to free market economists. Do you understand what free market economists are saying here? The argument is that there could be efficiency in the labor market if there is wage inequality, because with wage inequality, low-income earners understand that they only need to be trained or only need to be trained or to be more educated to earn more. So, but what is the argument? What is the argument or the criticism about these free market economists' arguments? They say, I'm going to read anyway. The free market economists argue that inequalities in the labor market may result in efficiency in the labor market. Reason being that inequalities raise incentives for workers on low incomes to gain skills to get more highly paid jobs. So that is the point. So for low income earners, there's incentive for them to gain more skills, more training, so that they can earn more. However, an opposing argument is that inequality reduces economic growth, as low income means less demand for goods. Also, the incentive to gain skills through education and training is much higher for those expecting to earn high incomes than those on low incomes. So the point is this: for free economists, they argue that inequality in the labor market becomes an incentive to make that market becomes efficient, because low income earners would want to gain more skills, more education and training to earn more. But the criticism about this is that low income earners do not have the incentive to want to work or to want to gain more skills, because they understand that whatever it takes them to do, they're still going to be within the minimum wage. So the argument is that those that have that incentive to want to earn more are those that are high income earners. It is only when you have high income that you think about doing more degrees or attaining more education or more certification. But when you are earning less, you barely survive. How do you want to think about attaining more skills to earn more? So mostly those that try or those that have the motive to earn more or to gain more skills are those that know that they can equally earn more, not low income earners. Do you understand?
Yeah.
For the free market economists, the argument is that there's going to be efficiency in the labor market if there's inequality, because inequality becomes an incentive for low income earners to want to gain more skills to be able to earn more. But the criticism about it is that those that are low income earners barely survive. How would they think about gaining more skills? Because gaining more skills and training or education is expensive. Where would they be able to finance that? So that is the free market economics regarding labor market inefficiency. Any question about that?
No.
Good. So that takes us to types of government intervention, which is okay. So we'll go to types of government intervention in labor markets and their effects. So we're going to start with maximum wage. So for maximum wage, maximum wage is a cap, is a wage cap or limit on the amount individuals can earn within a given firm. That is what a maximum wage is. That's the limit amount of money you can earn as an employee. Mostly they use maximum wage for executives. So here I'm going to read. A maximum wage is a cap or a limit on the amount of money an individual is allowed to earn in a given period. It can be implemented as a fixed sum or a ratio, such as limiting executive pay to a multiple of the lowest paid employee's wage. It is used to reduce income inequality. So for maximum wage can be used to reduce income inequality, but most of the time, they use it for executives, the chief executive officers in companies. So the graphical representation of a maximum wage is this. I have it here, the graphical representation of the maximum wage. So maximum wage is set below the equilibrium wage rate. This is maximum wage. Do you see it, please? Maximum wage is set, this is the equilibrium wage rate. Maximum wage is set below it. That's maximum wage. Is it clear, please?
Yeah.
So how does a maximum wage work? The first thing is the price ceiling. The price ceiling, which simply means it acts as a price, it's just like setting the wage certain individual could earn. You can't earn above that. That is ceiling. Fixed sum or ratio. It can be set as a strict monetary limit or as a ratio that links top salaries to the lowest salaries within the firm or economy. So when you are setting the maximum wage, it could be the percentage, a certain percentage of the low or the high income earner with the lowest income earner. So you work out the percentage or the ratio. So it's mostly about how much low income earners earn. You divide as a percentage of the high income earner. That is maximum wage rate. Then what is the objective? The primary goal of maximum wage is to reduce the gap between
The rich and the poor.
or high income earners and low income earners. I think it's clear. Any question about setting how maximum wage works?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the arguments for maximum wage? What are the reasons why we have to set maximum wage? The first one, people earn too much and they don't deserve it. Some people earn much that they don't even deserve. So that's one of the reasons why they want to set maximum wage, according to them. Two, it helps to reduce cost for firms. When maximum wage is set, it reduces the cost for firms because it means firms will not be paying so much in terms of wages. Yes or no?
Yeah.
The third one, in some labor markets, labor may have the ability to bargain for wages, which includes substantial economic rent. When we talk about economic rent, we're talking about return on factors of production like labor and land. Do you get the point I'm making here? So most workers, they have land, they make rental, they make income outside their work. So which simply means paying them maximum or paying them certain amount of money, they start earning so much that it's too unbearable and it affects the whole economy. Get the point here? As a chief executive, why do they set maximum wage for you? They might set a maximum wage for you because as a chief executive officer, you have other sources of income. Maybe you have property, you have landed property that you make income from. So you have excess with you. So that's the argument here. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So there's a case for them like, why do we have to pay chief executive officers this high amount of money where they can actually make they have other side income that they make money from? Do you understand? And the last one, it prevents the most skilled labor migrating to the highest paid jobs. Setting maximum wage means people would not want to leave, highly skilled employees would not want to leave for a highly paid jobs. So if being a banker or a chief executive officer of a bank is more rewarding than being a doctor, I would leave and start training myself to become a chief executive officer in the bank. Do you understand? So with maximum wage being set, it prevents the most skilled workers to migrate to the highest paid jobs. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So these are the arguments for maximum wage. Any question about that?
No.
So that takes us to the impact of maximum wage. Are you there?
Yeah.
So we go to the impact of maximum wage in a competitive market. So what is the impact of maximum wage in a competitive market? When maximum wage is set, that's the ceiling. It means you can't pay above that amount. That means it's set below the equilibrium wage rate. And when that happens, how does it affect the labor market? So I wrote, the market clearing wage is okay. So the point is this: as soon as the maximum wage is set, because it's set below the equilibrium wage rate, demand for labor would increase and the supply of labor would reduce. That means chief executive officers might not be willing to work because the stress of working will be too much than the reward for it.
Okay.
Does it make sense to you? So setting maximum wage means chief executive officers wouldn't want to, people would not want to become chief executive officers because the reward is less than the responsibilities involved.
Yeah.
Do you get it? Or probably chief executive officers might leave that country to start seeking for employment in other countries. That is what happens. So as soon as that happens, what happens? As soon as that occurs, it brings about excess demand for labor because supply will be less than demand. Do you get the point I'm making here?
Yeah.
So this is the graphical representation. So as soon as maximum wage is set, there will be excess demand in the market. Demand for would increase. The supply of would reduce. So firms will be willing to engage more chief executive officers or demand for more chief executive officers at OQL1, but supply for chief executive officers will be at OQL2. So there will be excess demand from QL2 to QL1. Do you understand? So this is excess demand.
Yeah.
Because maximum wage rate is set below the equilibrium wage rate. I think it's clear. So that's the first one. So I wrote, in terms of chief executives, it could be argued that fewer workers will want to put themselves forward because the rewards for the job do not match the stress and the responsibilities. That's why the supply for chief executive officers will be less. And probably equally, chief executives may move abroad to take posts in other countries, reducing supply. So supply of chief executive officers would reduce, and that reduces supply of labor, which means demand will be more than supply. That brings about the excess demand. I think it's clear.
Yeah.
However, the impact of maximum wage depends on relative elasticities of demand and supply. So let's put it this way. From when maximum wage is set, both the demand and the supply will be inelastic. Why? Let's look at the supply of chief executive officers. So the supply of chief executive officer is not much. There are few numbers of people that really become chief executive officers. So irrespective of the wage, the supply is not going to still increase. And remember that firms can only employ one chief executive officer. So what is the amount they want to pay? So whatever the chief executive officer would earn is just a small proportion of the cost of that firm. Do you understand the point I'm making? So that is why the supply of labor, when maximum price is set, is inelastic. Do you get it? So when maximum wage is set, it is both the demand and supply is always what? Inelastic. It is inelastic supply because firms will only employ one a firm will only employ one chief executive officer. And whatever they have to pay that chief executive officer is just a small proportion of their total cost. So that is why the supply will be what? Inelastic. And for the demand is also inelastic because firms can only respond by employing just one, like I said earlier. So the demand is inelastic because they only need one chief executive officer, which means they only pay less. The supply is inelastic. Why? Because there are few people that will become chief executive officer. Do you understand? So both the demand and supply of chief executive officer is always inelastic when it comes to maximum wage. Any question about it?
No.
Good. So that ends our maximum wage. In the next class, we're going to talk about minimum wage.